So for me, Ford isn't a car company like what it used to be. The Ford Fiesta has been discontinued and the Ford Focus is going next year. They have brought out a new electric Ford Explorer that it isn't actually an Explorer, nor is it actually a Ford. It is based on a Volkswagen. Another car they have brought out that has caused the biggest uproar this year so far is the Capri. It is clearly not a Capri, and again, it isn't a Ford, it's actually a Volkswagen. So what does Ford have left in their lineup then that is actually quite good? Well, they have the new facelifted Cougar, which is still a decent car. You also have the Ford Mustang and Mustang Mach-E, which again are okay. And you also have this one, the Ford Puma, the indirect replacement to the Fiesta. It has just been facelifted, so the question is it any good still, and is it still relevant in a brand that seems to be losing its way? Well, let's find out. Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Cars and More. This is the #1 place to be for car news and reviews. Sit back, buckle up, let's go. So the design from the front hasn't changed that much from the pre-facelift model. To start with, the bumper is the same as the pre-facelift with a decent lower central air vent and side vents. What is different though is that the Ford logo has been updated and has moved onto the grille, which in itself has a new mesh pattern. This keeps it in line with the new Ford design language. We also get a new set of headlights with a new graphic in it, and again this gives it a much more modern look. Depending on what headlight you go for though, the graphics are different. So overall then, the front hasn't changed that much, but it is enough to make it look like other new Fords, and it is still recognisable too. Moving around to the side, and the changes have been kept to the minimum, with some new wheel options based on the new Ford design language as well as some new colour options too. Apart from that, we get a decent side profile with some extended wheel arches and some bulges that give it a sporty off-roader look. Moving around to the back, and again just like the side, the rear profile has hardly been changed, with only updates to the new Ford badge and lower splitter hiding the exhaust. Everything else is the same though. This means we get the 3D style taillights that look futuristic and a simple bumper housing the fog lights and reflectors. Right, let's have a look and see what engine options you can have in the new Ford Puma facelift. So the engine range of the new Ford Puma is very similar to the pre-facelift. This means you get the EcoBoost engine. Everyone shivers when someone says EcoBoost. Well, it's not the same as the wet belt ones, as now they have a timing chain, so most of the problems have disappeared. So let's start with the first model. It is a 1 litre turbo unit producing 123 brake horsepower. This is front wheel drive and it can do 0 to 62 in 9.8 seconds, which isn't that bad. This is available with a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed automatic power shift gearbox. This engine is also a mild hybrid and could go around town on electric only or coast in electric mode, saving you a bit of fuel. The next engine is the same as the previous engine, but the power has been increased to 153 brake horsepower. Again, it is front wheel drive, but the 0 to 62 time has been reduced to 8.7 seconds, which is quite quick. It is only available in a 7-speed automatic power shift gearbox now. Now for the final engine. It is a 1 litre turbo EcoBoost unit, but this now produces 170 brake horsepower. Now for this, it seems quite ridiculous and almost too much for a small engine to handle. This does 0 to 62 in 7.4 seconds, which is very quick for this type of car. And for a normal trim level it would be excellent, but it can only be had with a 7-speed automatic power shift gearbox. Now this engine is only available in the ST model. Yes, you did hear me correctly, the Puma ST. Now before, you could have had a Puma ST with a 1.5 litre engine with 200 brake horsepower and a manual gearbox, which was much quicker and much more fun to drive than this new one. This engine in the ST seems cruel for the ST brand, Sadly no, it has been done for cost cutting reasons and CO2 reasons. It's a big shame really, as it makes the ST just look like a normal trim level now, not a special model. The price of the new Ford Puma facelift starts at £25,800, which is more than most of its rivals. Right, let's have a look at the interior, as there is a lot to talk about there. So, moving inside the new Ford Puma facelift, and it's all changing here, but not for the better. Now, for me, I much prefer the interior of the pre-facelift Puma. All it needed was an updated Sync 4 system taken from the Ford Kuga facelift, and that was it. But they have done a lot more than that. To me, the interior feels like a mess, and to be honest, I don't know where to start really, as there's so many little things that have changed. Right, the infotainment system is of course the new Sync 4 system, but the screen size is different and it is 12 inches in size. The software itself is good and easy to use, but it does house the climate control systems, which means you don't get any physical controls anymore. This is the same on the Kuga, and to be honest, I'm okay with it, as the climate controls do stay where they are. Up above the infotainment system we get some air vents, and above that we get a B&O soundbar, which has been seen on the Mustang Mach-E. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like the idea of having a soundbar in the car, but in this exact car it just looks like it has been placed on top of a dashboard and not integrated well at all like what it has done in the Mustang. The same can be said for the instrument cluster. There is no surround on it this time, and you get a lot of reflection on it if you're going past trees. But it does have new graphics, which I do like thanks to the Sync 4 system. The dashboard has a single piece air vent design on the passenger side, which I like, but the lower part is just material and feels too dark. It makes the interior look a lot like 50 Shades of Grey. The centre console is also slightly different, but is mostly the same. The indicator stalks are new now, and these have been taken from the Ford Transit Custom. Now, I'm okay with this, but it does mean that it isn't suited for this type of car. This is because that the indicator and wiper functions are on the left hand stalk, and on the other side it should be the gear selector stalk. But on this one the gear selector is in the centre console, so you only have one indicator stalk on the steering column, and for me it just feels like they just replaced it just for replacing sake. The steering wheel is also new and has a square design to it, again taken from the new Ford Transit. For me, I'm not a fan of a two-spoke steering wheel anyway, and especially with this one, it doesn't feel sporty to me, and it also looks very odd. To me, the interior isn't the best, and it feels like it was changed to add new parts that aren't designed for the car, especially the indicator stalks and the steering wheel. The pre-facelift interior was much better, and not a lot needed replacing with that. Right, let's have a look and see what the rear seats are like. So, getting into the back of the Puma, and legroom and headroom is decent enough for this size of car. Even with a dual sunroof option, there is still plenty of headroom. Unfortunately though, the plastics aren't the best in the back, and there is no armrest or rear vents, which is a shame. Let's have a look and see what the boot is like. So, opening the boot, you are welcomed with 456 litres of boot space. This is the same as before, and folding the seats down you get 1,216 litres. Again, this is the same as before. You do still get the cool Mega Box underneath the floor though, which has an extra 80 litres of space, and there is also a drain plug if you wanted to clean something in there, for example hiking boots. This feature I do like, and it does make the Puma feel very unique in that aspect. So what do I think of the new Ford Puma facelift then? Well, the exterior design is good in my opinion, and so is the practicality. The big turn down for me though is that interior. As I have said, the previous interior was much better design in that version and was much better. It just feels like to me that Ford are losing their touch at the moment and are trying to win back customers with no avail. I also want to point out that there is going to be an electric version called the Puma Gen E. Now, the Puma is based on the same platform as the Mark 8 Fiesta, right? So why couldn't they have made an electric version of the Fiesta? Maybe given it a little facelift and an updated Sync 4 infotainment system on the inside and kept that up for sale for another 4 years in the electric version. That would have sold well and much better than what the Puma's going to. Ford has some serious work to do to get back on top where they were over 5 to 7 years ago. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.